Hello, y'all. This is Julian Rico, and yes, this is an MLS Matchday 3 update. Now, I was supposed to do this on Monday or Tuesday, but with the breaking news around the NFL and free agency news, of course, which if you want to check those videos out, check those out. I did miss Wednesday's NFL news, so my apologies for y'all. Love y'all watching my videos, of course. But we're going to get to this out of the way, and then match day 4 prediction video will begin tomorrow. Let's begin with match day update 3. Columbus drew to Houston 0-0. Seattle getting a huge win at home against LAFC 5-2. Philly keeps on rolling with a 2-0 win against New England. DC upsets Kansas City 2-1. Orlando falling short yet again as they lost 2-1 to New York City Football Club. Cincinnati getting a 2-0 win against Toronto. Austin in a late game loss to Colorado. Nashville puts up the big upset and beats Portland on 2-0. Vancouver keeps on rolling with a 2-0 win against Montreal. Biggest upset of the week this week, the Chicago Fire. How about that? Beating Dallas 3-1. And let me tell you, congrats to Greg Burki in his first MLS win as a Chicago Fire coach. San Diego, how about that? We'll get to the San Diego moment, but San Diego 3-1 against Real Salt Lake. That's 2 wins of the season. San Jose falls short to Minnesota in an upset win as Minnesota wins it 1-0. Atlanta United and New York Red Bulls both end up a draw in a classic game between those two. Miami, without Messi yet again, they still managed to edge against a Charlotte team that's coming off a huge win against Atlanta United in a 1-0 win. And now the big stories. LA Galaxy, what is wrong? Because it's now 3 in a row. As they lost to St. Louis 3-0. Wow. Let's get to the winners and losers. Now, winners and losers, of course, I do this for match days, update videos, of course. They're not, these are my winners, but these are the teams that showed improvement and those teams that did not show up very well. The winners, the biggest winner was Seattle. The win against LAFC was very huge. They cannot afford to go down another third loss in a row. So getting a huge win against LAFC was huge. Of course, they had that late own goal against Charlotte. Then they lost to Real Salt Lake, and then they came up huge against LAFC. My second winner, how about San Diego? Not only of the win against Real Salt Lake, but look at their 3 games, of course. They get a huge win on the road against the champs, LA Galaxy. They drew in their first inaugural home game against St. Louis, and they win against Real Salt Lake. Is this the team that we could potentially say we never have a team that did this since St. Louis when they became an expansion? And that brings us to St. Louis. Huge win against LA Galaxy. Of course, they're coming off 2 games that they draw, and they were trying to get their first win of the season in a new managerial. And a huge win against the Galaxy. That is huge. Can they keep that going, or is it going to be a bumpy road away towards an MLS season? Finally, let's talk about Philadelphia. Okay, Philadelphia. I believe this is their 3rd victory. Yes, 3 wins in a row. A win against Orlando, a win against Cincinnati, and a win against New England. We're going to say Philadelphia is a title contenders. 3 wins in a row. Congrats to them. Now, the losers. Let's talk about the Galaxy. How embarrassing are we talking about LA Galaxy when they just lost 3 in a row? They lost to, of course, to San Diego, which I was shocked about that. Let's go to match day 2. they should rebound, get back on track. Should they? They lost at Vancouver. Okay, against St. Louis is next. I guess we can find a way to win that one. Nope. They got to get back on track. They cannot afford to lose 4 games in a row when they play in their big games. So we'll see what happens on match day 4. Can they get a win? Or if they go 4 losses in a row, the pressure's into LA with the Galaxy defending their MLS title. The other loser is the Orlando City Club. Of course, I know the results are not going what we all thought. Lost to Philadelphia, of course. They they finally get a win, but then you lose to New York City Football Club, which, yeah, this should be a good one, a draw maybe. But the start is not, this is not a great way to start if you're an Orlando fan. Right now, I can still see them get back on track. We'll see what happens for the rest of the season. Next team, let's talk about the FC Dallas. Of course, their loss to Chicago is a tough one. But their results, win, drew, loss. Now, are they my biggest losers? No. But today's losers are the FC Dallas because, yes, you lost to Chicago Fire. But coming off that loss, can they get that? Can they step away from that game and move on to the next? The last game, let's go to Kansas City on Sporting. They added a striker, of course, from the champions. And they're now 3 games in a row they lost in the MLS. And including the 2 losses to Inter Miami in the CONCACAF Nations League. So, yeah, pressure's in Kansas City right now. There's going to be some questions around this club. Can they get back on track? Or is it a managerial issue going on right now? I think it's more of the players need to stay healthy, get back on track, and move on to the next game. That's what I will do. If you're one of those losers in that column, get healthy, get back on track, and move on to the next game, because you're not going to go to your mind and say, oh, I want to come back and get that rematch. No, there's no rematch. This is what the MLS season is all about. Rather you lose 3 games in a row, you win 3 games in a row, or you just draw, win, loss, or 3 draws, whatever. Always stay focused. Be a little concerned of your health. And have those soccer statistics just ready. Because when we get to, I'm assuming, in the month of November or October, you got to play for a chance to get in the playoffs and find a way to win the MLS Cup. That's the goal for every 30 clubs in a 30-season MLS season. This is what it is all about. If you have not seen my NFL news from Monday and Tuesday, go check those out in my channel. Also, if you want to follow me on the MLS series, go check those out in my channel. Of course, it's on my playlist. Again, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification for more sports news. Also, follow me on Instagram and TikTok for more sports news. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.